In this video, I will show you different ways you can use the Literacy Center of Expertise Phonics Stories 1 through 10. The suggested activities have been adapted from the ESL for All Reading Skills Progression. I will show you the activities with an example book, but you can use these ideas with any of the 10 stories. As literacy learners need to interact with books multiple times, this video will show you different foci for each time you interact with a phonics story. I will show you a few examples of how you could use oral language, build print awareness, read the story together with your students, and finally, how you could put it all together to help learners build reading independence. So let's get started. So with this book, Welcome to Canada, the first thing you could do is a picture walk. This is where you look at the pictures and talk about what you see. For example, what do you see in this picture? Where are they? What are they doing? You could go through the whole book like this or just look at a few pages. It's up to you. Next, you could listen to the sentence on each page by clicking the play button.
Canada has snow. Canada has donuts. Canada has farms.
This will help students develop their oral language ability. As you read, you could also connect to students' personal experience. You could ask them, does Syria have snow? Does Afghanistan have farms? To help students connect to this story and build engagement with the idea of books and reading in general. Finally, when you're finished listening to each page, you could recap the story by asking something like, so, what does Canada have? Number 1, Canada has snow. Number 2, Canada has donuts. This will help you see what your students remember to check if they're ready to move on to the text. To recap, a few ways you could use oral language in the first section of the books is to do a picture walk, listen to the story, connect to students' personal experience, and check for oral comprehension. In this next section of the book, you can begin to help students develop their understanding of print. ESL for All refers to this as print awareness or concepts of print. This isn't reading necessarily, it's more about how print works in the English language. So, for example, you could listen to the sentence,
Canada has snow.
And then model for students how print moves from left to right using the drawing tool in the book. Canada has snow. You could listen again and count the words. 1, 2, 3, and practice by asking students, how many words do you hear? How many do you see? To help them understand that what is being said matches the words on the page. Lastly, in this section, you could bring students' attention to the page numbers to help them understand that books in English move from front to back and where to find the page numbers on the page. To recap this section, you can help students build their print awareness by modeling the following: tracking print from left to right, counting words they see on the page, counting page numbers and where to find them, and the idea that you can match oral language or what you hear to the text on the page, what you can see. Now that you have listened to the book and focused on concepts of print, you can focus on reading the story. To start, you could choral read all together with everyone reading and reading each sentence together. Next, you could reread, but this time focus on the initial sounds of the words that match the pictures. For example,
Canada has snow.
Canada has Snow. What sound do you hear? Let's make the sound together. Snow. Finally, you could focus on the following pattern or sentence stem. Canada has. Let's look on this page. Canada has. It's the same. Canada has. Oh, number 1 word, number 2 word are the same on every page. Reading and rereading in these ways will help you to scaffold for your students and slowly build their reading independence. To recap, in this section, you focused on shared reading of the text by first choral reading all together, which is where everyone reads at the same time, focusing on just the initial sound of the vocabulary words, such as snow, donuts, or farms. And this is opposed to focusing on all the sounds in the words, and noticing the patterns or repeated sentence stems of each story. At the end of the book, you can practice putting everything together to help students consolidate their learning. Here, you could focus on the overall story. For example, what was this story about? What does Canada have? You can look at the pictures to do so, or see what they can remember without your help. You could focus on the sentence level. For example, Canada has snow. Canada has donuts. I have to click 3 times. 1, Canada. 2, has. 3, farms. 3 words. Or you could focus on the sound level by asking snow. Snow. What sound do you hear? S. What are other words with the s sound? Saturday, school, salam, student. This will help your students understand that other words in any language can start with the same sounds, and that this will help them with reading in English. Once again, here are a few ways that you can review the book once you've read it and reread it with a different focus each time. At the end of the story, you could ask, what is the story about? What are the words you see? How many words do you see? What is the first sound of the words? Snow, donut, geese. This will help students to understand that all these things are connected and they all help with reading books. And finally, here are all the different ways that you can use phonics stories with everything together. You can practice oral language, building print awareness, reading the story, and putting everything together. To wrap everything up, here are a few ways you could extend the books if you still want to use them. For example, you could use them with students reading together in paired reading. You could extend them into writing activities and rewrite the story together. Or you could allow students to just reread throughout the semester, either on digital platforms or in a book box in the classroom with our companion PDFs. Check out all 10 stories on the Literacy Center of Expertise website, and stay tuned for our next series of 10 books coming early 2023.